The story of Salon of the Year is an interesting one because it really involves a collaboration between Andreas Hogue and his wife, Ashley Hogue, and Tess Millard and myself. And I wound up flying to Chicago. It was in the winter. He took me to see a wedge-shaped space. It was a very unusual high space. And I thought I was going to die. I was so cold in that space with him. And I learned later that you get better pricing. If it's not a rectangular square thing, you pay lower rent, which is really interesting to me because to a designer, that's an opportunity to have an unusual space. And Tess did a layout, and she wanted to keep the full depth of this tremendous space with huge high ceilings. And on the right-hand side, there was this crisscross X of I-beams or beams, steel beams that were fascinating.
There needed to be a generous amount of space dedicated to the salon area, the styling stations, but that there was a lot of things that had to be sort of behind it in enclosed spaces. The bathrooms, the break room, Andreas's office, and the shampooing area. And so all of that had to be built in an enclosed space. And at first, Peter really wanted that to be in the back of the wedge. But I began playing with the idea of running it along the left-hand wall and sort of building it into as cube shapes that could have some sort of a color. And I remembered that I went on my honeymoon. I went to Sri Lanka, and there was a hotel that I stayed at that had a low wall running through the center of the entire property, and everything in the property was very subdued and modern, black and white and mahogany. But then this wall that was bisecting the entire property was done in this beautiful shade of saffron yellow. And it was spectacular. It just became this piece of artwork. And I wanted to create something like that.
And Tess did the layout of the functioning of the salon in a way that I had never seen before and that I frankly disagreed with. And I had a conversation with my wife at night saying, the design that she's done is terrible. And my wife said, what do you mean it's terrible? And I said, she's got the bathrooms up in the front. Everything's jammed over to the left. She's obsessed about keeping the full length of the space. We did this layout and we went back and forth on the floor plan. And the design evolved. And they sent us a likes file of their taste, which is how we design. And it was all about beach houses in Malibu. And it was this sort of casual, easy breezy feeling that had this style to it. So we said, well, we'll give you a salon that feels like California. And they loved that idea. And in among the things that they sent was an Oscar de la Renta dress that was an amazing dress, but it was this brilliant kind of fuchsia pink. And there was a Carolina Herrera dress that was in a soft, creamy yellow.
Ashley, who's a ballerina, she was very inspired by motion. And I remember that there was a page that she pulled of a woman dancing, and she just wrote in Sharpie on it, motion and dance. And there was an image of butterflies flying. And again, she wrote motion. Instead of doing the normal static beauty images that we always used on our salons, I realized that what we should do is have the image projected on the white wall above the retail shelves. So you walk in and there are these projections on the wall that are a little faded of ballet dancers or of runway shows or of Andreas doing color. And it creates a sort of magical, sort of sun-washed out imagery.
And in the retail in the front, we decided to do like a hyperbole, an exaggeration of retail. And so we ran a retail unit 20 feet up the ceiling because they had shown a sliding ladder that they liked, and they wanted that for their retail area. And so the retail thing makes no sense, but it makes brilliant sense. It's because it shows the power of retail and the importance of retail in a way you're never going to see it at Amazon. You're never going to see it. Amazon sells things one product at a time, and CVS it's just. But this is like a temple to retail, and it's on the front page of Salon today. And they were clients who were willing to do something crazy like that. And Tess was willing to propose something crazy like that. And then to the right, as you went through the retail, there was a reception desk. And Tess did the whole wall vertical in natural wood, and sort of sprinkled sconces going all the way up the wall. I think there were either 20, there were something like 20 sconces on the wall. And it's just a spectacular effect. And the receptionists work out of two pedestals, so they walk right out into the retail space and interact with the clients. So the functioning of that was wonderful. Tess found these beautiful paper globes that floated in the air, and so she created clouds of globes of light through the space because the ceilings were 20 feet high, and put a mezzanine in the back with a spiral staircase going up to it. She really used the space in an extraordinarily unusual way. And there was a metal column that came down through the space, which was in an awkward location. So we painted it the brilliant pink of the Oscar de la Renta gown. Then as you came into the space, you saw this long depth with this white spiral staircase going up to a balcony and the square window in the back that Tess wanted to keep because you saw sunlight coming through or daylight and blue sky. And on the right-hand wall where the big steel beam X was, she floated the color lab as two black rectangles filled with color. And there were mixing tables in front of it. To the right of that was the consultation and waiting area on a raised platform that you stepped up to. And she wrapped the wood around, and that became the Instagrammable wall. We hung a swing there for people to sit on and take their Instagram pictures. And Ashley loved butterflies and mentioned that she loved butterflies. And Tess found an artist in Brooklyn who made small acrylic butterflies. And she created like a cloud of them floating up this wall. And then just the bathrooms up at the front, we went through a number of different wallpapers. Finally, Ashley found this 1930s French couture designer wallpaper. And we did it in two different colors. It was tropical. And Tess found these beautiful white penny tiles and an oval brass mirror. The bathrooms are just so luxurious and so Instagrammable. Next to that was the shampooing area, and that was created as a quiet, low ceiling room with a wood ceiling on the top, and it wrapped up and over and down, and a beautiful Max Wanger surfer photograph on the wall of California. And I think there were palm trees. And so we went back and forth on that, so that when you walked into that space, it was a calming, quiet, serene space, and very different in feeling from the high energy of the other spaces. The workstations were these long sweep of mirrors, and with stainless steel tops. The whole place just came together.
Although the entire space is very minimalist and geometric, overlaid onto the geometry and the very clean lines of the space are these sort of ethereal clouds of movement, of the image projection, the sconces up the wall, the butterflies, the globe lights. So there's this mix of precision and artistry.
The night that we were leaving, when the Salon was done and I had flown to Chicago to photograph it with Andreas, and they had a wonderful photographer, Nicole, that I worked with. And as we came out into another bitter cold night, a woman came walking along, and she stopped and she stood at the window and stared at the video that was playing in the Salon of Andreas doing balayage on hair. And it was just a remarkable experience. So when Ashley called and said they were a finalist, and she was so excited, and she didn't know, the magazine would not tell them whether they'd won, but they did tell them, I believe, that it was going to be on the cover. And we didn't know that means that you won it. And so there was a week or two of, being so excited that we were finalists. And then Ashley called with the call that it was Salon of the Year. And I can tell you that I jumped out of my chair. And I guess this is the emotional part. I never would have done this without my kid and without Andreas and Ashley. And so when you're trying for something, sometimes it takes somebody else to help get you across the finish line, or frankly, go across the finish line and you get to follow. So that's the story of Salon of the Year, and we love it. Is that good?